I'm here at Eurogamer with the creative director, Alex Hutchinson.
Yes, correct.
Yes. So we're here at the Assassin's Creed 3 sort of booth area. We've had a little play of the naval battles bits, and also of the escaping from the fort that's on fire thing. So that was absolutely great. I'm a massive fan of Assassin's Creed. Always have been since the start.
Awesome.
So I'm really looking forward to this. I guess the first thing to really ask is, what, in terms of the gameplay, obviously we're going through to a new era. What has changed in terms of, from Ezio through to Connor? What's going on?
Well, so it's really been a huge change. Most gameplay in the title has had some tweaks. There's a lot of brand new stuff. Obviously, naval you mentioned, the ability to climb in trees, to sort of use the forest as the three-dimensional play space. The whole fight is new, so that means don't press the old buttons, play the tutorial.
I found that out with the counter button. I'm glad to see that's actually been changed a little bit, so it's less sort of push to win all the time.
Yeah, you definitely will get killed in this game, so hopefully that's your cup of tea. We'll find out in a few months. But we wanted to unify the controls a lot. So for example, in a fight, instead of block being on the right shoulder button, it's now on a face button, which allows us to keep free run on the right shoulder button. So in the middle of a fight, you can just run out if you want to. So we wanted to get it far more fluid and organic, so you can run in and out of fights. It allows all kinds of new strategies. As you mentioned, if you counter, you can then choose whether to kill them or throw them or disarm them. It's all part of the kill chain mechanic, so you can seamlessly grab a gun off one guy, stick his friend with it, switch back, shoot another guy. On your triangle or Y button, depending on which console you're on, if you're on a console, you have your tool at all times, so you can stab a guy, shoot another guy, and go back to stabbing a third guy without needing to break stride. So we tried very hard to make that organic. And even things like navigation have had a bit of a facelift, not just in terms of what you can climb or how it feels, obviously all new animation, but also you don't need, we called it the Assassin's Claw. You don't need to hold the face button as well, the A or the X button, with right trigger. If you just hold right trigger, you'll be safe. You'll never accidentally leap to your death. You'll never leap off a branch. You'll never accidentally run up a wall. But if you want to force to jump, then you can tap the face button.
Okay.
It's funny watching people because they have that muscle memory to go back to the previous system, but you don't have to. And what it means is you get great stuff like you can actually now move the camera while you're running. So lots of little things like that. And then obviously, big stuff, naval we mentioned. There's 24, 25 species of animals to hunt in the forest. There's, obviously brand new character, brand new story, brand new world. There's a bunch of little secrets in there as well, so hopefully people like it.
Sounds really good. In terms of Connor himself, is it, I know he's half Mohawk, half British.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember which way round it is. Is it his mother who's Mohawk? Or the other way around?
We're not going to let you know. We'll keep it in the spoiler territory for that one.
Okay.
It's all part of the story.
Okay, cool. Are we, because of obviously the British thing, he is fighting the Brits? Is he not? Or there's a bit of a sort of inner angst because he's obviously struggling with that?
One of the reasons we chose Connor was he's not American or British. That he's someone who can stand outside it. So it's funny that's come up a few times because it's absolutely not the story. And we've had 4 games where you've occupied the grey middle ground, and I think we've proven that's where we put our lead characters, and that's true again in this one. And even more interestingly for us, it's that if you think about it, there's no one there but British people until the end of the American Revolution. It's a colony, it's a British colony, so everybody in it for most of the game is British, whether you're fighting with them, against them, or around them. So and there's a lot of French. You get to kill a lot of French as well.
Okay,
so it should cheer up the Brits.
Yeah. If you're a Brit, that's a good thing. So that will relieve a few people who are going, why the Brit hate?
Yeah, I will. And it's also funny. It's like we killed a lot of Italians in AC2 and AC Brotherhood, and we killed a lot. So I think it's all going to be fine.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's always been something that's very multicultural, and I think that's great. I think the history, the amount of work that goes into it, the language. I remember because I did a playthrough of Revelations. I remember people saying who were actually Italian, that they were loving the accents and actually how close they were. So I think that's absolutely brilliant that it does go that far into the research and does recreate that.
Yeah, we spent a lot of time. We spent about 6 months at the start of the project just researching people, setting, characters, events, just to make sure we had our history down. And in terms of language, there's whole chunks of the game that are actually in Kenyenka, which is the Native American language of the area of the world that he was in. So it's probably a language no one's ever heard before who's playing the game, or very few people. So it was really fun to work with local communities and get that sort of stuff in there.
That's really cool. Desmond, so obviously we see throughout there's a balance in every game with Desmond. How much more are we going to see of Desmond? Is it going to be equal? Is more answers going to happen?
Well, I mean, anyone who's been following along knows that 2012 is an important date in the Assassin's Creed universe. So we will be dealing with issues related to that, where, the solar flare, is it going to happen? What does it mean? Who's involved? How is Abstergo involved? Why did Abstergo abduct Desmond in the first place? So there's more Desmond in this game than ever before. Again, we don't want to give any details of it. Obviously, the people who are excited to get answers, I really hope that they're satisfied by the end of this one.
Cool. I think someone was asking about before you could buy and you can upgrade your towns by buying shops. Is that still, because obviously it is a growing colony, is that something that's still very important?
Like everything, there's some ideas we had in the past that worked, and if we brought them forward into Assassin's Creed 3, we didn't want them to be the same. So something we announced just a couple of weeks ago, actually, is one of our preview events. We were talking about the homestead. So at a certain point in the story, you gain your home base, basically. And by performing missions and helping out other people around the colony, sometimes in Boston, sometimes in New York, sometimes in the midst of the forest, you will then see them move into your town. So over the course of the game, you'll see it grow from just you alone, essentially in the woods, into a thriving community. Yep. And all of those people are opening businesses. So you can buy wood from them and you can trade it to Boston or New York. You can take the wood you bought from one person, hire another guy to turn it into chairs, and then sell those chairs in Boston. So there's a whole little economy game that happens around your homestead.
That sounds fun.
Well, I come from I worked at Maxis for a very long time, and I like my city building and my toy towns.
We like our city building and toy towns. Yeah. Dare I ask? Because obviously you said 2012 is a big year. Dare I ask if we're coming to the end, or is that something that we can't even discuss yet?
It's definitely in spoiler territory, but I think we can safely say that just as we finished Ezio's trilogy, we finished with Altair, we've learned that to try and satisfy people, things need to end. We actually need to get to the end of things, so certain elements will for certain be ending.
Okay, and obviously as we get closer to the modern age, is that going to be something that's going to be difficult as we go further on? Because obviously you're looking for key events in world history to actually tie up. And especially if you're now, I guess, quite anchored in the Americas. Is that something that's going to be interesting?
I don't think, people said the same thing. They're like, oh my gosh, you're coming to America. It was all about Italy. And you're like, no, the game is about history and about big events. So I don't think we're anchored necessarily in America. This game is very much about, the American Revolution and these cities and elements of that fantasy. But I don't think we're necessarily always going to go forward in time. And I don't think we're stuck in America now that we're there. So everyone who had fantasies about other locations, I'm fairly certain one day you will get your wish. Just stick with us, it'll be okay.
I think there was a crazy Victorian steampunk thing going on for a while.
You might get Victoria. I think that's a great setting, but it won't be steampunk because we never do alt history and we never do revisionist history. You can't change history, you can only live it. So unless someone digs up evidence that they really were steampunks, it'll just be Victorian London.
I think that'd still be cool. I think like Jack the Ripper kind of time might work. I don't know. No, that would be interesting.
Like Gaslight, I think there's amazing. But there's so many good ones. India works, Russia works. Our only rule is to try and go somewhere that other games haven't been. So it won't be places that are settings for other games.
That's good. And that kind of brings us on to like the game engine. I know that you've built a brand new one from pretty much from the ground up.
Yeah, well, all game engines are by their nature iterative. There are games out on the floor right now that are running on engines that were started on the PlayStation 1. They grow and change and evolve over time. And this engine for us, this revision of the Anvil engine, was really about gameplay. We didn't find new hardware. It's not magic. We just wanted to say, okay, how can we reuse the resources we've always had in different ways? Can we get 3,000 soldiers on screen so we can do epic battles? Can we get deformable snow so we can do a believable winter? All kinds of stuff. The tree navigation, the new weapons, guns are a new thing, or at least in their prevalence in this period. So the engine allows us to do all kinds of fun things we couldn't before.
Cool. I think I read somewhere about 50 new things, that kind of project. I mean, how much of that was actually put in the end? Was it good? I mean, what was your sort of favourite thing, if you've got anything that you can talk about that went in that was cool?
Yeah, it was an idea that myself and one of our associate producers, Julien Laferrière, had, that we wanted to clear up at a midpoint in development, just a day a week for a couple of months for everyone on the team, basically to come up with something that they wanted to add to the game. You know, like we had a framework, we knew where we were going with the big features, but it was kind of like, everyone take a chunk of your time, 20% of your week, and make it cool, and come and pitch it back to us, and hopefully we can squeeze it in. A lot of it made it. The one that didn't make it, which is a bit of a bummer, even though we made the character and we almost put it in, was this idea of a kind of urban legends that someone had. So for a while we had like the sort of pumpkin-headed character on a horse, sort of like headless horseman riding through the frontier, and it looked really cool and it was neat. But then obviously our game is not fantasy, so we were like, okay, we'll have to build a little mission thread for this and explain it, that it's actually some crazy guy trying to scare his friends, or like we'd have to come up with something to ground it and justify it, and we just ran out of time. But you never know, DLC maybe you'll see it.
That would be good. DLC for that would be hilarious and amazing. How big is there is an open world in terms of the wilderness and that. How big is big? Are we talking as in you're limited almost by certain points in the mission, you can go to this city and this bit of the wilderness, or is it pretty much like, here you go, here's everything, off you go?
I really like open world experiences, and I think that one of our goals with this was to allow more multitasking. So in this game you have your main story missions, but you're always picking up side quests, whether they're growing your homestead and the village around it, or taking to the seas in search of a particular Templar, or trying to find trinkets to trade for a guy, to unlock islands that'll let you learn about Captain Kidd, like all these different side missions that we have in the game. The open world nature of it was really key. So as you move forward, you unlock big chunks of the world. So at the start you might unlock the whole city, and then when you add another city you always have access to the previous location. So we try to unlock massive chunks of the world, and it's by far the biggest land mass we've ever built. So the frontier alone is bigger than the entirety of the Brotherhood map. And we also have Boston, we also have New York, we also have a bunch of secret locations. There's the homestead, which is a big map as well. So there's a lot of explorable space. Wow,
that's really, really cool. One final thing, the multiplayer. How exactly is the multiplayer going to evolve? I mean, we had it in previous games. Is it going to be similar style, or are we going to see extra stuff with the growth of the new game?
So the single player part of Assassin's Creed 3, really we tried to sort of reinvent as much as possible to make a big radical departure. Multiplayer is inherently more iterative. You're building on the things that you had before. So the guys in ANSI, they're a super talented team, and they sort of went back and looked a lot at what people were doing, what tools they were using, what modes they were playing, to sort of streamline everything and like evolve the experience. But of course there are new modes as well. There are new tools you can use as part of the multiplayer, and we've changed the wrapper. So the whole narrative wrapper, we were working a lot on, well, how does multiplayer fit into our fictional story, And so the idea was basically to give you insight into how Abstergo, our fictional company, fits into the real world. So what is this multiplayer experience? And so we get a lot of fun backstory and secrets about Abstergo in there.
Brilliant. I'm so looking forward to it. I think I'm going to be playing on the PC, purely because I've always been PC. Yeah. But I know quite a few of us at Yogscast want to play the multiplayer. He's raising his eyebrow. We all want to play the multiplayer as a group. I know I'm going to be playing it on my channel. I'm going to absolutely love it. I know that already just from playing it, even though I'm terrible with consoles. Cool. I know it's going to be a great game. So thank you to you guys really for all the hard work. And
it's been a long road. Three years. This is the end of 3 years. So I was looking at my buddy Cooper, who's here as our animation director. Everyone's looking tired, so it's time to go out and have a drink and a curry. I think that's what we're going to do.
Okay, brilliant.